Hey guys, welcome to Ice Hockey Aussies, and today we're going to talk about the New Jersey Devils and Colorado Avalanche game. It was an absolute defensive powerhouse, and yeah, myself, Nick, and Jaden here to go
Yep.
through it.
Yeah, I'm not too sure where to start. I guess you got to start with that it was probably the best defensive game I've ever seen in a long time. You know, I watched majority New Jersey, and even when they were good 10 plus years ago, I didn't see games like this. And to do it against someone like
Yeah,
Colorado as well, that firepower. Sure, they had Landeskog and Nichushkin out. Um, it's a statement. They definitely moved up in my power rankings.
yeah, no, I have to agree. I was impressed. One of the biggest things with New Jersey coming into the season was, their defense and their goaltending.
Mm,
What's it going to be like? And after the first two games, I know they've been better the last, obviously, four out of the last five games they've played before today, but that defensive effort, you just didn't see it coming. They got fantastic goaltending out of Vanacek, and yeah, like there wasn't really any of the defenders that you could hang out to dry and be like, you didn't do your job today. They all performed really, really well, and it's good to see. Hopefully, for Devils fans, that's what they can expect throughout the year.
mm. Well, that was really high quality game. I don't think you can match that for 82 games. That's for sure. That was like a plus performance from both teams. Colorado also played extremely well. I would say McCarr had a somewhat of an off game. He in practice lost the handle of the puck, and I know on the first power play or the first entrance they had into the zone, he lost the handle on the puck. So he didn't look his flashiest of selves. That's what I noticed on McCarr. But even with him playing like that, he still played. He still got that speed in the passing, and he hit the post. I think it was him. 2 minutes in, that could have gone either way.
Yeah, that's it. I don't think he had a poor game. I think he still did a lot of things right. Of course he does. I think being Cal McCarr, everyone just thinks he's going to have a blinder
Yeah,
each and every game. And yeah, he still played really, really well. Um, but yeah, probably down on his own standards. Missed a couple of opportunities that he probably would have liked back, especially ringing that one off the post. But yeah, you're right. Like as good as New Jersey were, Colorado were just as good today. It's not like Colorado were down or had a poor game. They were just as solid defensively. Both teams played with so much speed. It was
you
yeah,
got
it
you got
was
to
an
say the two.
absolute pleasure to watch.
You got to say the two fastest teams in the league, most likely. And they looked exactly on par with each other. It was rare that anybody
Yeah,
got past someone just from pure speed or through passing. You watch the highlights and it doesn't show the defensive side at all. And that's the thing that I don't think many people would take out from this game on how big of a shutdown both goalies played, both defenders played, and all the forwards played amazing defensive game. Rodriguez from Colorado played amazing one.
yeah.
It,
You saw them putting their body on the line, right? Like the
yeah,
amount of big block shots. It wasn't just blocking a nothing shot at the net. It was, they were blocking open nets.
yeah, Marino did that. Nate Bastian made a couple really big blocks on the PK. You got
Yeah, and then his
Heisha, you
screen for the
probably
power play goal.
yep, and then you got your screen for the power play goal. Like
Mm.
I think everyone on that ice tonight had a really good game, and it's hard to find a flaw, and that's why the game was probably 1-0.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, obviously you had Miles Wood's goal, that was overturned from offside. That was just a real nifty piece of play. You can't argue with the offside call. He was he
Oh no,
was well and truly offside.
I saw it was offside
Um,
during live. I was like, oh, that's overturned. I didn't even celebrate. I knew it was
yeah,
going to get overturned. So,
yeah. Even him on the bench, he didn't look too convinced that it was going to go his way. And You can sit there and go, oh, well, look, he got behind the defense and scored that goal. But at the end of the day, it was offside. And that's probably the only reason he got to the position he got to and scored was because he had that offside advantage. So that's just how good the defense was today, that to score, a player had to literally take an offside advantage to get out in front of the
Yeah.
defense.
10 years ago, it would have
So
counted.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, why not? But yeah, you didn't see too many sort of breakout chances like that. There was one for Colorado, obviously, where Marino had a bit of a slip. But those things happen, and Vanacek was obviously quite solid. But yeah, I mean, you talk about Marino. We talked about, obviously his error, his little slip up, but the rest of his game, like 99.999% of his game was just pristine, amazing.
Yeah.
Got the job on McKinnon. Every time that man came on the ice, Marino was on the ice with him.
Yeah, and Graves was his partner. They basically were out in the ice the whole night together. Great
Yeah,
Graves, it's hard to stand in the limelight with someone like Marino playing the game he did, but Graves had a great game alongside him as well. But it was just the
oh,
it was just the board plays as well. Every time the puck was against the boards, New Jersey were doing clean movements with it, up or down
yeah,
the boards to someone else. There was no fiddling around or anything. It was very clean, and Marino really
yeah. No,
set the
no,
pace
trying
on
to
that.
overdo your stay.
Yeah,
Exactly. I think that's what he's brought to New Jersey, to be honest, is that simple, like that simplicity of, hey, let's not try and be fancy. Let's not try and get out of our zone by doing something nifty. Let's just get out of our zone. Let's just get it up on the boards. Let's get it, out of our area, and then we can focus on the attack. And that's something that New Jersey, over the last 5 or 6 years, has just been terrible at. They get caught in their
yeah,
zone so often, and it always results in the opposition
yeah,
scoring. And that's, even the years that they've had where they've been the better team and better offensively, they just get let down by the second they get pinned in their zone. They can't get it out. And it's something we're seeing differently this year. And I think a huge part of that is Marino.
yeah. I actually think Smith, even though he's like the sixth, seventh D, is bringing a lot of leadership. Listening to a lot of the interviews that some of the players are making, they're saying Hauler and Smith are bringing a lot of veteran leadership, calling out players on their bad plays, and I think that's something that New Jersey has lacked for the last 5 years, being so young. Obviously, too young to be calling people out, but now you got some vets in the lineup. They can call bad plays where they see it, and I think that's going to start roping in people like Severson, who's pretty prone for those errors, and he still has been somewhat throughout the season. I'd say he's been our worst defender, but when you have Severson as your worst defender, you've got something going right.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the worst defender, but the worst of of a good bunch.
Exactly.
It's not, oh, you're the worst out of a really shit defense. It's you're the worst out of a really solid unit at the moment. Um, yeah, look, you can clearly see what Hauler brings to the table. He hasn't really gotten started with the point production, but he's really solid defensively. He wins face-offs, and yeah, his leadership on the ice is clear, and I'm sure it's the exact same in that locker room. And yeah, I mean that's what they brought Smith in for, right? They didn't exactly bring Smith in to play 25 minutes a night and be the best defender on the team. Um, I think the hardest part with that is you've got someone like a Kevin Bowl sitting on the sidelines, not getting games when someone like a Smith whose defensive play was reasonably good tonight and pretty solid, and he's been okay. He's made mistakes here and there through games, but yeah, I guess when you do have that veteran presence and a team like New Jersey that does need it, I guess that's one of the big reasons why he's played all 7 games so far this year.
Yep. No, definitely. And you mentioned the face-offs. I guess we can start going into the face-offs because nobody's going to be talking about it, I don't think. But I definitely picked up on it.
No, it's a very underrated skill, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
it's
very underrated,
um,
especially in the
you
defensive
know,
zone. And you mentioned Hauler. He had 8 out of 11 face-off wins. You know, New Jersey in themselves had what was it 72% win rate compared to
yeah,
the
71,
Colorado.
72, yeah. I think
Yep.
it's 71, but yeah, where
Yeah, and then you got Hishu with 16 out of 17 face-off wins. 94%. A lot of those were in the defensive zone too, especially at the end of the game when they're trying to hold that
oh,
one nil
that
lead.
win,
That 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 that
that win at the end
you're on the
just summed
PK
it up, didn't it?
6 versus 4, and you win the face-off. Like that's huge, absolutely huge. You
Yeah,
can't underestimate that.
against the, reigning, Stanley Cup champions. You've got well, one of the biggest firepower powerhouses on the power play, which we'll talk about down the track. But if he loses that face off, they get a solid minute with puck possession on the power play 6-on-4,
Yeah,
and
and I honestly
that
think
it could have been
if
anything.
they win that face-off, they probably tie the game. That's how that game was probably
Pro-
going to go.
yeah, most likely. I wouldn't doubt that actually. 6-on-4, it's tough. It's tough to defend, especially if they win possession. It gets to Makar. You've got McKinnon, Rantanen out on the ice. I know they didn't have Niskanen, as we said, but that's still a lot of firepower on that line. And yeah, as we said, one of the big underrated skills is winning faceoffs. And when you win 71% of faceoffs, it's a big reason why they were able to control parts of the game and not let the game get away from them, because they were basically getting first use of the puck 2 out of 3 times,
Yeah.
and that's massive.
And McKinnon only had 2 out of 10 face-off wins. He got taken to face-off school by Hishu, as we were saying. Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
I
uh,
mean, you've got one of the arguably one of the best, if not the best player in the league at the moment, who got absolutely taken to school.
mm, and yeah, so I can't push enough on how big the face-off game was. McLeod, he's a face-off machine. 5 out of 6 face-offs. That's huge. There was basically only 2 players from Colorado who were at 50%, and they only took 4 face-offs each. They weren't even big. The biggest who took the most was Compa, and he 37.5%, which is just not going to crack it. You need 45% plus to win
Yeah, the thing I
to
will
win the cup.
say about him though is he won 6 of them, right? Like he took a bulk of their face-offs,
Yes.
6 wins, 10 losses. Yeah, you can say it's not going to cut it, but he was probably their better face-off taker of the night. I know the stats don't look great for him, but he took a bulk of their face-offs and was able to win 6 of them, which I would rather see him go 6-10 than
Mm.
someone like McKinnon go two for 8, or Newhook go 1 for 6. Um, yeah, at least he's winning something.
And there was just one other point I wanted to make. They basically for Colorado only ran 3 lines. Their fourth line only really averaged 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, they
And
played 7 defenders.
so McKinnon and Rantanen, 25.5 minutes, 24 minutes. Like they really overplayed. Lehkonen with 24.5. Their first line was just put on the ice a lot more. Whereas you look at New Jersey, it was split among all the forwards, with the highest ice time on their forward line was at 19 minutes with Hisha. So it means that New Jersey have a good solid depth in 4 lines, and Colorado, obviously with their injuries, not really trusting that fourth line to get in there. And I think that's a big part of today as well. You're in a fast-paced game. You're probably expending McKinnon and Rantanen a bit too much.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like I said, they played 7 defenders, but I just realized that um their seventh defender played 3 minutes.
Yes, 3 minutes 20. Yeah,
um,
they
yeah, like. That's
It,
an interesting stat. Like, it's it's crazy. I mean, I've seen these sort of numbers looking back at some of the Vancouver games, quite similar, where their first and second lines forwards are playing 22 minutes each, and their third and fourths are playing 8. Um, so yeah, it is a bit odd. And yeah, obviously Landeskog and Nichushkin, huge outs for them. New Jersey had Palat missing as well, so both teams had players missing. But yeah, I guess that's the difference, right? New Jersey trusted their players. Zetterland, he's been healthy scratch in and out of the team. Boquist came back for his first game since I think the start of the season. And they played 10 and 14 minutes.
yep.
Both of them. They were in out of the cold basically. Hadn't played for a little bit. I think Zetterland may have played last game, but yeah, they just had the trust that those players would get it done, whereas in Colorado didn't. They felt they needed their superstars to be out on the ice more than not. And I think that's a credit. That's a huge credit to New Jersey in the way they played them. It
Yeah.
forced Colorado's hand.
Yeah, no, the gapping was done superbly, especially on players like Makar and McKinnon. They just had that perfect distance where they weren't getting beaten by the speed and they weren't letting those players, stop on a dime and go around them. So I think that was a big play on just the gapping, the structure of the team was on point. Um, the next thing I'd like to talk about is the PK. You know, they they went on the power play, Colorado, 6 times. With a 50% power play, you're expecting probably 1, 2 goals there at least.
Yep.
Of course, they don't have Nichushkin, who's scored like 5 power play goals so far this season, but they get fully shut out. And
Yeah.
their first couple power plays just got dominated by New Jersey, and every power play after that was getting better and better. That's why I feel like that last power play in the last minute probably would have scored if they lost the face off New Jersey. And I just think that's a massive defensive effort. Bastion taking the blocks, Hisha even taking a couple blocks, and Hisha's your best forward basically. So it's a massive team effort. Vanacek stood on ahead a few times throughout the night. I actually think
Yeah, made some absolute blinders.
he's probably been the better goalie in my opinion. His stats don't look it, but watching him, he looks like the better goalie over Blackwood. But at least they're pushing each other to take that number one spot, which is what you want to see.
Yeah, I think that's the main part, isn't it? Because I probably would agree with you there. His first game against Detroit, I think it was, where we lost 5-2. Uh, he he probably made one bad error in that game that led to a goal. Whereas in the rest were just complete defensive blunders. They just left him out to dry. I thought some of the saves he made in that game, the scoreline could have been worse than what it was. So yeah, I mean, but that's what New Jersey needs, right? Said it for a long time. Their goaltending last year was the worst in the league. They had 6 or 7 goaltenders play for the whole year. It's time that they actually get some consistent, solid goaltending from not only their starter but their backup as well. And if Vanacek and Blackwood can just keep pushing each other, they're only going to get better. Because
Yeah,
they're actually worried now. Vanacek's in there going, well, I'm going to prove that I'm the starter, and Blackwood's gone, well, no, that's my job, and he actually feels like he could lose it now.
yeah. Well,
So
Vanacek
yeah,
played a 99% perfect game. The big thing was my heart is still in my mouth when he made the cross ice pass. That was very slow with a oncoming Colorado player. Like he almost got it. My heart is still in my mouth from seeing that in the decision making there. But other than that,
yep,
absolutely perfect game.
yeah, it was very solid from him. He stood on his head when needed to, not only in the power play but at even strength. He made the saves that he needed to. which was good, but he also made the saves that you could have been like, oh yeah, I understand that one going through. That was a tough save, right?
Mm.
And that's the stuff that the Devils probably haven't had a lot of, but it's been more about making those saves you should, and then to back that up, you make the saves that you probably expected not to. Once you start doing that, your goaltending's flying. And one of the things I probably will touch on, sorry, just as well, is again 24 shots. That's
Yeah, they've
that's
really,
all the
really.
Devils conceded.
I don't think they've conceded over 30 so far this season.
No, 27 is the highest, and that was the first game of the year against Philadelphia.
And yeah, so their defense is definitely something that's different, something we haven't seen in probably 10 years. They actually have a defense. And so once they're getting a
Yep.
little bit of goaltending behind that, that's something. I'm still not 100% convinced with Lindy Ruff, even though they're probably, a top 10 team in the league right now. I still think his job's sort of on the line, depending if they keep this momentum going or not. Another thing I would like to say is probably Jesper Bratt's probably carrying a lot as well with his forward play. He's got another assist tonight. His point streak continues. What he broke a record for, like, that was held by the I think it was the Devils for 54 years, and he's still going. So, and it was good to see Hughes get the goal because he needs to start firing. You want him to be a point per game player.
Yeah, I think that's something to touch on though. I mean, Jesper Bratt has been firing, obviously. Eight game is it, 8 game point streak now.
Uh,
To
yes,
start the
yeah.
season, that's incredible. And yeah, obviously 13 points in 8 games is phenomenal. But the thing you got to say about it is they're not overplaying him.
No, he
He
only had 16 minutes of time ice. Like, he wasn't even the number one
yeah
out there.
yeah against Detroit the other night, he only played 12 minutes. He's not. It's not like they're playing him 23, 24 minutes a game. They're expecting him to be the only one doing anything on the ice. He's not. He's just performing every time he goes out in the ice, which is fantastic to see. But the other one to touch on is Hughes, as you said. It's good to see him score. You want to see him firing. He hasn't had probably the biggest impact to start the season, but I also look at that as a positive. You've got, such an exciting talent that hasn't even hit his stride this year yet.
Yeah, and they're still
And
and they're still
and the
winning
Devils
games. Yeah.
exactly the Devils find themselves 5-3, 5-1 in the last 6, and he's not yet firing on all cylinders. So
I got to
I think
say,
that's
he
a real
probably had
positive
a
for the
poor
Devils.
game tonight. He wasn't really noticeable, and made a defensive blunder that almost cost a goal. When he was just trying to skate and hold the puck, even though you're the last player, you just can't really do that. But
No,
he's still looked alright. The issue with me for the New Jersey is still the shooting. They're not shooting high. Like, in this league, you got to shoot, over the shoulder, above the glove, or you get it
yeah,
in between, below the glove and above the pad. And they're just not shooting high enough. A lot of their shots are low, and that's why they're getting all these shots, but they're not going in. And so
yeah,
they need a sniper. They need someone who's going to shoot high. And I don't know where you find that on the market with the salary cap that they got at the moment. They're basically at the top. I don't know if you want to change anything up at the moment. I'd say you could probably bring in Holtz, but he's probably a defensive liability. But honestly, Tatar was a defensive liability today. Two horrible
yeah.
penalties.
Actually, I was about to
Two,
say that.
two horrible penalties. I don't know how many games he's played. It's like 600, 700. I can't remember. But you can't
So
be
he's played
taking
a
those
few.
You can't be taking those penalties. It was
He's
rookie
played
level.
709.
Yeah,
709, and yeah, those were rookie penalties.
Yeah, absolutely rookie penalties, and you just can't be doing that. He didn't look the greatest on the ice. He wasn't really impactful. Lost a few pucks. I personally, if I was dropping someone from the lineup tonight, I would be doing with Tatar and bring someone else up. But obviously, he is a veteran presence, but he hasn't fired. I think he's got one goal for the year so far, and that's
Yeah,
it.
1 goal, 1 assist. I agree. I think he could be the one that maybe gets sat for a few games. On the Holt situation, he potentially could be a defensive liability, but is that where you pair him up on a line that has him covered defensively? It's why I was interested to see all through preseason you had Palat, Hughes, Holtz. That line every time it went out, it looked good. It looked solid. You had Palat sort of, I don't know, like covering them defensively almost, and just allowing Hughes and Holtz to play that offensive attack. And we haven't seen that at all. That line hasn't even been given a shot in the regular season.
Oh, it's
So,
the Heisha Brat Palat line's just been too good. That's the thing.
and I get that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think one of the ending points we can say is Nico Hischier has to be the most underrated player in the league. I watched the first 10 minutes of the game with the Colorado broadcast just to see what they were saying, and they mentioned the New Jersey has two big centers. They got the amazing Jack Hughes, and then they got a good player in Heisha, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like Heisha's honestly, in my opinion, the better player out of the two. He's the
Oh,
one
he's the more complete player.
he's the more complete player.
100%.
He's the player I want on my team to take me to a Stanley Cup. He's the Patrice Bergeron. He's that foundational player that you're going to get around. And so it's amazing that people are still overlooking him, especially with 16 out of 17 faceoffs tonight. Um, it just
Oh,
he absolutely shut down McKinnon a few times. He made McKinnon on the boards look like a rookie player.
look ordinary.
Yeah, just look
Look
odd.
ordinary.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I don't understand it either, to be honest. And it's not just not getting recognition from outside New Jersey and from the league. It's some New Jersey fans. Were calling for his head and oh, number one pick and he's a bust. And I'm like, have you watched him play? Have you watched his face-off wins are phenomenal, and he wins it when it's most important. He wins it when it's in the defensive zone and you're trapped and you're in trouble. But his board work, his forecheck is amazing, and then he can score goals and be a playmaker all at the same time. I don't know what else you want him to do. Yeah, okay, he hasn't put up a point a game for a season, but he was still on pace last year for I think 70 something points in an 82 game season, and this year he's already at a point a game. So I don't know what more this guy could do to sort of earn the accolades that I think we both believe he deserves.
yeah.
Um,
And that's the thing. If you don't watch the games, you don't see it. There's probably a few players through the league that are either Heishes where they're this the foundational piece, but they get overlooked. And I just think that's what's going to take him into the playoffs this season is just how well he is playing. Like he's stepped up another notch. His board play is phenomenal. It's probably one of the best in the leagues I've seen. He rarely loses on the boards. Like I said, he's a playmaker. He seems to get good passes. He looks basic the way he plays the forward zone, but his pass is always on the tape of an open player. That's one thing I've noticed with him. So
yeah,
I'd rate him up there. I think he's one of the people, and that's why he's the captain that will take this team hopefully to the playoffs this season. And as long as they get solid goaltending continuing through the season.
and the defense stays strong. I think that's the other key to New Jersey going forward. Those two areas, if they get solid performance out of there, I think the offense can take them. I mean, just before we wrap up, just want to talk about Colorado as well.
Yep.
Um, today it takes nothing away from Colorado and the team they are. I think if anything, it just shows you how good they actually are. Their offensive efforts were amazing, as we touched on. The defensive efforts were amazing as well. They were missing two key players. And yeah, it's tough when you're coming back off after winning a Stanley Cup, trying to get your wheels back, trying to get your season started. But I still think that they're one of the most dangerous teams in the league. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a second back-to-back in 4 years. So
Yeah.
I still think they're amazing, and today takes nothing away from them.
Well, to me, it was the
We've
best
spoken
defensive
mostly
game we've
about New
seen. So,
Jersey.
yeah.
Well,
Is it?
exactly, and that was from both efforts, both sides, not just New Jersey. Yeah, they're a real talent.
Yeah, you can't take it past him. Bowen Byram seems to be getting better with every game. He's just every time he's got the puck, it looks good.
Well,
Rodriguez
that's how
played
scary they
amazing
are,
as well.
right?
But yeah, yeah. Well, they got the
Like, how scary.
best two defenders honestly coming up. Bowen Byram and Carr. Like that's deadly.
Gerard. Like,
Mm.
Gerard's 24 years old as well, and yeah, like it's a scary good team. Like they've got three defenders there that 23, 24, 21, and they're all a bucket full of talent. Um, and then you combine it with their relatively young roster as well. I mean, 25, 27, 27, 27, 27. They're all around that perfect age for that franchise sort of dynasty. So,
It's just if
oh,
they can
yeah.
stay salary cap compliant without hindering their team too much, they're going to start having to do what probably Tampa did. If they keep up this success, you lose a good player here and there, but still be good. With McKinnon doubling his contract, it's gonna hurt a little bit, obviously, but you do have hopefully the salary cap going up. So I think they'll be up there with Tampa doing probably reach the I'd say the Eastern Conference Final this year, and I'd probably say even next year. I can't see why they wouldn't. So I got nothing against the Avs. I think they're going to be probably top five team this year, especially with someone like Pittsburgh dropping down. But I guess that's where we can end that there. Just that little discussion on Colorado.
Yeah, no, I think it was good. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we hope you enjoyed what we had to say. If you want to start a discussion, just put a comment in the comment section below, and we'll get back to you when we can.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.